Furion versus Garrosh. Victory or death. I must protect the water.
Alright, this is a warrior. This is a different warrior, though. Hey, Eye of a Storm. Thank you very much for the 12-month resub. 1 year. I appreciate it. I kind of want to just keep this whole hand. I have a Wild Growth. I have a Wrath to like deal with an early minion if he is playing aggressive version of the deck. And Innervate and Azure Drake's pretty good. I'm going to keep it. It's not like the perfect hand, but I think it's good. Has like all the elements that I'm interested in, with the exception of like Nourish against an aggressive deck or against a control deck. But I have an Azure Drake, which is a card draw tool. Ooh, oh my! I don't think I want to Coin Innervate Nourish or Coin Innervate Fandral against a warrior. I don't really have anything especially exciting to do with it. I think I'd rather Wild Growth and then be able to Fandral into something else later. Like against like a Zoo deck or something, I definitely do this here. But against Warrior, I don't think it's correct because I think I want to get more value out of Fandral. The body itself in play on turn 1 isn't that good. You don't know if I get anything, but you bought $200 of Soylent from my link. I don't get any specific commission or anything like that, but I do appreciate the support of my sponsor because that does help me out in an abstract sense. Alright, so my opponent is not playing aggressively. So I can Mire Keeper for mana, and then next turn I can Fandral, Innervate, Coin, Nourish, I think. Right, I'll have 6 next turn, 7, 8, 9, yeah. So we Mire Keeper for mana. And then we just basically explode next turn. Hey, Kakoli... I can never get your name right. Kakolineo. Kakolokineo. I think that's right. Thank you very much for the 5-month resub. I appreciate it. Six, 7, 8, 9.
Behold the rage of the Firelands.
I could just Wild Growth now to 10 next turn, which I think is good. Even if I like miss a card draw from my Wild Growth theoretically, I can also just Azure Drake next turn, or like Azure Drake Nourish. So I am gonna just play this Wild Growth here.
Job's done.
So my opponent has 5 mana next turn. I have 10 mana next turn. Hey, Ouroboros Panda! Thank you very much for the sub. I was actually Natalie was just watching a video about pandas last night, talking about how they have, like, the strangest, like, there's so many elements about pandas are, like, the strangest thing in the world. They, like, I think female pandas only ovulate, like, 3 days a year, which explains why there's, like, basically no pandas, because they more or less can't reproduce. I'm just gonna play both of these. If he has like another Ravaging Ghoul, he can kill both of these on board. But I could like Ravaging Ghoul that, or I could like play this and like Wrath one of these and Hero Powered it down. Ooh, Patron. That was not what I was anticipating here. Okay. Thankfully, it doesn't look like he has a. He doesn't have like an Inner Rage or another Whirlwind effect, so we can actually just kill both of these.
Pay attention, class.
I'm ready to learn.
Yeah, Panda Facts. There we go. JF Crisis, thank you very much for the sub. Welcome, welcome to the Dragon Army. Yeah, this could very well be the Arcane Giant Grim Patron sort of combo-ish style of deck. That has been something that people have been experimenting with recently. They'll also be experimenting with conceding. It's working out well. Do you think the recent rage about Yogg has been justified? It's been out for a long time. People no longer find it entertaining, but frustrating instead. I think that Yogg is not like... I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think that the issue with Yogg is not one of sort of a particular card necessarily being especially, influencing the outcome of games to a particular extreme degree, more so than it is like a perception problem. Because, like, there are tons of games that in Hearthstone that are decided by random elements, and people just kind of gloss over that. Against Shaman, I think we're gonna try and get an Innervate. We got Wild Growth, Nourish, and Ixia's hand's kind of terrible. We got an Innervate. But yeah, like, what cards you draw from your deck, the order in which you draw them, what you get off of Animal Companion, you know, what you get available to you. Oh my. This is a hand. Well, next turn I can just play Onyxia. And hopefully my opponent does not have Lightning Storm.
All the while.
So 2 Totem Golems. Even if my opponent does have Lightning Storm, I just have an Onyxia in play, so... Also 2 Nourishes. Turn 4 Onyxia. Go! You dare challenge the Daughter of Deathwing? You dare? Do you dare? I hope this hits my face somehow. Never lucky! Ooh. I'm gonna kill these so he can't even Flame Tongue me. Like, I just have... My hand is still just gas because I nourished, so... I'm not even really behind in resources if I'm trading stuff off with my Onyxia.
Did you bring some fish?
Okay, Rock Biter, that's fine. I can Fandral Raven Idol and still have 2 mana left, so if I find a Wrath, I can easily clear this. Rebuys, add-ons. Kind of unfortunate. We'll take Starfall since we have this in play, and we have another one in our hand.
All the while. Job's done.
Corn for Nixie didn't do much. It traded with my opponent's entire board. We'll Mirekeeper for a minion, and then just swipe this.
The land serves me.
We have Fandral Starfall or Fandral Nourish next turn, or just Big Tree. How do I get the second Fandral? I discovered it from a Raven Idol. Oh my. Well, we have a Big Tree. we can't Fandral Nourish into Starfall. Not quite enough mana for that. If we find an Innervate, we could. We've drawn both of our Innervates, though. So we'd have to Raven Idol and we wouldn't have enough mana. 7/7 for 4. Ooh, Fandral Starfall. Blow up all your stuff. Okay, Rockbiter. Kill my tree. Can Fandral Starfall this and kill all of his things, and then just still have a Fandral in play.
Behold the rage of the fireland.
It's always the second Fandral that gets you. Okay, let me put the actual list up, because people are asking for it. This is a very standard list of Yogg Druid. But Yogg Druid is a pretty fun deck, so... Browse, find the list, to put up on the screen. There it is. What can you play instead of Onyxia? I suggest Golden Onyxia. No, I mean Onyxia is like not a absolutely essential card. I think it's a good card, but you could play like Wisp of the Old Gods if you want just like another token generator thing.
Alfurion versus Gul'dan. Your soul shall be mine. I must protect the wild.
Alright, against... We're going to assume this is Zoo, and just keep Living Roots and Wrath. I'm going to mulligan these. Ooh. Oh my. Do I use a deck tracker? I didn't use a deck tracker for a long time because I didn't want to get into bad habits as far as like competitive play is concerned. Then I sort of had the realization that when I'm streaming, it's difficult enough to keep track of what's going on in like the game, generally speaking, as opposed to, and not have to worry about the exact cards that that have been played by each player. So as well as replying to chat and things like that. So I started using the deck tracker pretty recently. I think Arcane Giant would be pretty good in the deck. Yeah, I think Arcane Giant could be a powerful card in the deck. I don't know what I'd cut for Arcane Giant is the thing, because a lot of the cards in the deck are really really synergistic as it is. You could potentially play it instead of, I mean, like Onyxia, for instance, but then you lose some of your ability to generate distributed threats, which I think is very valuable in a lot of matchups. This is interesting. I can trade here. I think I need to Wild Growth now. I'm never gonna have a chance to Wild Growth in the future. If I can trade here Wild Growth, then next turn I can potentially Wrath Hero Power or something. Yeah. I can also just like attack Hero Power. But I think I need to get the Wild Growth in if I'm ever gonna get Wild Growth in. If I use a deck tracker, why don't I put the deck tracker instead of the screenshot? In part because I haven't actually figured out how to use the deck tracker as far as just displaying it in a section of the screen, and the screenshots, are much lower technical requirements. Alright, well, I can no longer hero power anything meaningfully. I'm just gonna wrath this guy down, I think. Do I want to hit this guy? What are we gonna do next turn? Are we just gonna coin out Emperor next turn? I think we are. Do I want to hit this then? I think if I coin out Emperor, he may very well just. Yeah, I think I want to hit this anyway. The one life I think versus the potential to kill this with a swipe or just a hero power next turn if I decided that I changed my mind. We got a donation. Let me open my Twitch alerts. Gotta find it. Where is it? Did it get moved? Why did that get moved? Oh, this just isn't maximized. Okay. 2 questions. How do you feel about Yogg in competitive play? How do you avoid tilting, getting angry at RNG from Anilus? Alinilus? Pronouncing these names is always difficult for me sometimes. Always sometimes, though. How do you feel about Yogg in competitive play? I answered this kind of a few times in the stream so far, but I think that Yogg is just the sort of most explicit iteration of something that just exists in competitive card games, period, which is the fact that randomness has an outcome in, or has a role in outcomes in games. And here is that is very explicit with Yogg, and you know, people remember the big Yoggs. They don't necessarily think about, like, you know, the instances where someone plays Yogg and it goes badly, and it's like Yogg, you know, it basically equals a calculated risk. And you know, so we basically lost a health for that, but whatever. And I think that, you know, it's fine that it exists, and it's fun that it exists. Like, the fact that it creates exciting moments that people talk about later on is, you know, something that most cards don't do. You know, like, it feels to me that, like, there's kind of a element of, like, cognitive dissonance when players are, or when viewers are both complaining, and players are both complaining about the influence of Yogg in competitive games and saying that, you know, oh, it's, you know, this is terrible, yada yada, but also complaining, oh, same decks all the time, you know, Resident Sleeper, boring, like, you know, the games just play out the same way. And it's like, well, a lot of these are sort of interrelated, because Hearthstone's a game that is actually fundamentally, in terms of its engine, pretty, like, low variance, pretty deterministic, and it needs things that cause unpredictable outcomes in order to avoid becoming just the same all the time. And Yogg is one of those cards, and I think that the reality is not really that bad in terms of how often Yogg actually influences, like, the outcome of competitive games in terms of, like, a truly dramatic way. Like, you're paying 10 mana for the card, it should do something powerful, and it actually does, you know, a fairly predictably powerful thing, which is usually kill most things in play and draw some cards once you hit a certain threshold of spells played. And that is... I gotta stop and think for a second. You know, that's something that I think is totally fine. Like, you know, but the fact that that what it's doing is appears to be random, even though it's, like, you know, it has, like, a very high likelihood to do, you know, certain kinds of things based on the thresholds that you reach in terms of spells cast, causes a perception problem. And I think that that's a real thing that, like, you know, is causing a problem because of the perception, not necessarily the reality that this is somehow, you know, this horrible influence that's causing people to undeservedly win or lose. Oh god. Okay, I'm dead. He has 7, 8. Yeah, there's no way for me to get back into this.
I can see.
RIP. The second question is, how do I avoid or deal with tilt? I've just been playing competitive games for long enough that, like, I've seen it all, really, you know. Both playing